Hey everyone, my name is Jessie Jennings and welcome to Let's Paint Live, our monthly painting party where we teach you to paint a full painting in just about an hour. Tonight we're painting this super fun Mod Podge garden. So this month, May, is Mod Podge month. So in case you didn't know, National Mod Podge month or National Mod Podge Day is on May 17th, but we like to celebrate all month long. So tonight we're going to be doing some mixed media and collage using our Mod Podge mat in our Let's Paint Live. So it's going to be super fun. We'll be using some magazines, some torn up magazines, but of course we'll also be using our Let's Paint kit. So I'm going to get into the supplies we'll be using for this class. We have our canvas, and this is a size 9 by 12, but you can use any canvas for this. Even if it's not rectangular, if it's more square, it'll work. You'll just kind of change the shape of your floral bouquet. I've also got my brushes. So this is our 10-piece variety brush set. I've just pulled out the ones that I'm going to need for tonight's painting. I've got some scissors, some palette paper, some paper towels, my water here, and I've also got a hair dryer so we can dry between our steps. And then of course, as always, we'll be using our Let's Paint Live kit. So if you're new to our Let's Paint Live, we have an awesome kit. It comes with 24 colors in addition to the 10-piece variety brush set. So you can purchase that kit on plaidonline.com/letspaint, and you can paint along every single month with us, whether it's me or Kirsten Jones or Andy or Chris or Emma. Whichever person is painting, whichever person is teaching, you can use that kit to paint along. So it's a really great value, so you can join us every month for our Let's Paint party. And like I said, we'll be using our Mod Podge mat tonight to adhere our magazines onto our canvas. So it doesn't have to be matte. I like using matte because I like the matte finish, but you can use gloss or satin or whatever you have at home. We have Caitlin here in the studio, so if you guys have questions or comments, please make sure to put those in the chat, and I'd be happy to answer those for you or say hello. So, unless we have any questions, Caitlin, we can go ahead and get started.
Yep, I think we're good to go.
Okay, cool. So I do want to talk a little bit about the magazines I have. So I actually photocopied the magazines that I used for my original painting, but I just tried to find some magazines, you know, some ads and things like that that had really good areas of texture and color, because I knew I wanted to make a vase of flowers. So I was kind of thinking about like the colors and the, you know, textures that my flowers would be. I'm going to need some stems and leaves. So I kind of went through my magazines that way. I tend to like food magazines because they usually have really great big images like this, especially this one too. This is a great one for collaging. But of course other magazines work great too, like this Dior ad. Both of these have really great texture and color. So you can really, advertisements generally are the best in my opinion because they just have really bold imagery. So anyway, I pulled these out of a magazine and I made copies so I can redo it for you guys. But magazines, honestly, I like magazines better, like the material of the paper for collaging, but this is just printer paper and it'll work just fine. So to get started, we're going to do a couple layers for our background. So we're going to start by grabbing some of our pure orange, and we're going to paint the whole canvas in this color. So I've just got my 3/4 inch flat brush, and I'm going to paint the entire canvas. And you may be wondering why we're painting in orange when obviously you can see the final painting here next to me. It's more white when we're done. We're going to do orange as our base color, and then we're going to add some white and kind of let that orange show through because it gives it some really nice texture to the background. And also I really use a lot of our Mod Podge colors. So of course Mod Podge's colors are pink and orange and a lot of times yellow. So I use lots of pink and orange in our Mod Podge painting this month because I just wanted to celebrate Mod Podge. So this coat doesn't need to be perfect. We'll just do one coat because keep in mind we're going to go back over it with white. So if it's a little streaky or if it's not completely full coverage because you went quickly, that is okay because we're going to cover most of this up anyway. Should make sure my paint is nice and smooth and even. We're almost done painting this background. And again, this color is pure orange, and it's from our Let's Paint Live kit. If you don't have this color at home, you can use any orange, or you can mix red and yellow, or you can use a different color. It's totally up to you. Like I said, we're using orange tonight because it is Mod Podge month, and orange is one of our Mod Podge colors. Okay. So now I'm going to make sure my paint is nice and even, and then I'm going to grab my hair dryer and dry this so we can add our white on top. Okay, so now that we've got our orange nice and dry, I'm going to grab some of my wicker white. And put that on my palette. And then I'm going to put some white on my brush, and I'm going to start applying my paint in sort of like a slip slap motion. I'm not just going to paint it up and down like I normally would. Oops, that's okay. I'm kind of go like this. So kind of like left, right, making sort of like crisscross marks. And the reason I'm doing that is because I really want to get that brush strokey texture and let some of that orange show through. So you don't want to cover up the orange completely, because I really like that kind of color coming through. It makes the background a little more interesting. But we're definitely going to lighten it up with the white. I'm going to do this for the whole painting. When we get towards the bottom, you can kind of leave it because we're actually going to do baby pink there. So you don't need to go all the way down, just close. Okay, so I'm going to clean my brush off. We're going to give this a quick dry just so we can paint that baby pink on the bottom. So I'm going to grab some baby pink, and I'm going to put that towards the bottom of our canvas. I'm using the same brush. I haven't changed brushes yet. I'm just going to kind of draw a line across. It's about 2 inches from the bottom, so I'm just going to eyeball it. And I'm going to let a little bit of that orange show through on the bottom too, through the pink. Okay, so now is the fun part. We get to start cutting and tearing our papers. So we do lots of layering here. As you can see, we do some Mod Podging and then some painting and then some Mod Podging and then some painting. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start cutting out the green for our stems. So I have this green here. This is a really great one. There's lots of great texture. And then I have another green one that I pulled too. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my scissors, and you can see here for my stems, I just cut out some very, narrow lines. I didn't tear these. I did cut them with the scissors, so they'll be a little bit cleaner. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to get some from this one too.
And for those that are coming in late, we have not mixed Mod Podge with paint. We've just used paint, and then she's cutting and she's about to use Mod Podge now.
Yes.
So, no mixing together.
Thank you, Caitlin. Yeah, if that's one of your questions, we are doing some collaging tonight. We're doing some mixed media. So we've got our paint, and then we've got our Mod Podge and magazine. So it's going to be really fun. We're going to make this really pretty sort of collaged bouquet of flowers. Okay, so I've got my stems here that I cut out of my magazines. And then as you can see here, I also have some leaves that I cut out of this green too. So I'm going to cut out some leaves. And as you can see, I'm not being terribly careful. I'm not tracing or drawing it out. I'm just keeping it very loose. I'm just going to kind of eyeball, a regular leaf shape. If you want to make it a little more detailed, of course you can. That's entirely up to you. But mine's going to be pretty loose tonight. So I've got one leaf. Let's get another one out of this.
And which Mod Podge are you using again?
Tonight I'm going to be using Mod Podge Matte, but that's really just because I like the matte finish. So you can use Mod Podge Satin or Gloss. It's entirely up to you. Okay, so now my pink there's going to be a little bit of overlapping with my pink, and it's still a little wet, so I am going to move my paper pieces so I don't blow them everywhere and do a quick dry on that light pink. I was hoping it would dry, but I kind of cut my papers too fast. Do that really quick. Okay, that's all we needed. So I'm going to move this up so I can lay my papers out. So I'm going to kind of arrange how I want my stems to be. So kind of keeping in mind the composition of our painting, which means the layout of our painting. We're going to have our big bundle of flowers up here and then our vase here. It's going to be overlapping our table, and then we're going to paint the glass vase around it. So we're going to have our stems sort of poking out here. They're going to be holding up our flowers. And make them kind of crisscross so they feel a little more real. Maybe add one more. So I think that looks good. So now I'm going to move these aside. Now that I kind of know which ones I want to use and where they want to go, I'm going to move these aside. I'm going to paint down some Mod Podge. So again, tonight I'm using Mod Podge Matte. This is one of our original formulas. Oops, it's sealed. I cut open. I got a fresh bottle tonight. I'm going to open it up. And then I'm going to use my flat brush. I'm just going to dip into my Mod Podge, and I'm going to spread a nice even layer where my paper is going to go. So you don't need a ton of Mod Podge especially when you're Mod Podging papers. You just need a nice, even, smooth coat. It doesn't take much. And I'm going to start laying my papers down. I'm going to add some on top here so I can kind of layer my papers. Smooth it down a little with my brush. And then I'm just going to do this one last stem. Okay. All right, so I'm happy with that. You can do a little on top if you want. Just make sure not to move them as you go. Okay, so I like the way that looks. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my leaves that I cut out to the top. So again, we want to think about where our flower is going to go. We're going to kind of do a bunch here. So I'm going to have my leaves sort of poking out from where my flower bundle is going to be. And I'm also going to add some painted leaves. So I want to leave some space for some painted leaves and then make sure that it's all going to connect when I finish everything. When I go to put all the flowers and all of my components down. And of course, Mod Podge always dries clear, so if you get it in a place where you don't need it to be, it's going to dry clear. You won't see it anyway. Okay, so now I'm going to get that Mod Podge off my brush so it doesn't dry, and we're going to paint some stems. Or some leaves, I should say, not some stems. So I'm going to grab, I've got a round brush here. I've got some Thicket, which is our dark green, I'm going to put on my palette. And then I'm also going to grab some of my daffodil yellow. We're going to do a little bit of mixing just to lighten it up a little bit. But if you have a medium green, you can go ahead and use that too. So I'm going to grab some of my Thicket and then a little bit of daffodil yellow. And I'm not going to mix it all the way. I'm going to kind of just like keep it like halfway mixed because I like the way that looks when I go to paint my leaves. So I'm going to paint one maybe over here by this one. And I'm going to make them really similar to my paper ones. They're not going to look much different. These are just going to be paint. So I kind of like the difference in texture between the painted leaves and the magazine leaves. I like the way they all kind of look together when it's all said and done. And then I'll do another one over here. And again, just really traditional leaf shapes, nothing crazy. Add a little yellow. Clean off my brush, and then we're going to paint some of these little sprigs as well. So you can see I've got some of these like fun little sprigs coming out, and I want to include those now because I want those to be coming out from behind the flowers as well. So I'm going to get a smaller round brush. This is my number 8 round, and I'm going to pick up some of my Thicket here. And don't forget, you want to make sure we're doing lots of layering too. So you can kind of paint it over a leaf if you wanted to. You can keep it all separate. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to paint a little sprig coming from this way. And then I'm going to use my brush to press down to paint some leaves. So I use the very tip of my brush with very light pressure to get that super fine line. And now I'm going to press down on the same brush to get a leaf shape. So I didn't really move it much. I just simply pressed down, and I'm letting the bristles of my brush do all the work. Press, press. It's a really simple way to make little shapes like this. Press, press, press. I'll do another one of these, maybe coming up this way. And do the exact same way. And then I have these little sort of like buds that I painted too, so I'm going to add those as well. So I just did little lines coming out, and then we'll add some of our orange to make the little buds. I'll put it up here for this time. So just some little stems coming out of there. And I'm going to clean my brush and grab some of my orange. It's already on my palette. Paint some little buds on there. Okay. Okay, so now that we've kind of got all of our background greenery in, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dry my painting. Keep all my papers from flying. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint my glass vase. So it's really simple. Glass can be very technical to paint because of course it's clear, so it's hard to paint something that's clear, and there's always lots of reflections to make it look realistic, but we're going to keep it super simple tonight, and we're just going to do some fine blue lines with a little bit of dry brushing to make it feel like there's glass there. So I've got some true blue I'm going to put on my palette, and I'm going to mix that with my wicker white. I'm going to use my smallest brush again, my number 8 round, to get a bit of a paler blue. And then I'm going to paint this face shape. So it's kind of like a square, but it just kind of bulbs out on either side. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to look like, you know, kind of look like glass. So I'm going to start on this side, and I'm going to paint a bowed line there. Make sure to keep your stems inside. However your glass turns out, and make sure your stems are inside of it. Then I'm going to go under for the bottom of my vase. And you can even do kind of behind your stems to make it look like the vase is three-dimensional. The other end. And you kind of don't need to add to the top because we're going to have flowers covering that, so you're not really going to see it. But I am going to rinse off my brush and then pick up a little white to kind of add to that, just to give it a little bit more dimension. Kind of roughly add some white in some areas, right over the same line. Kind of dry brush almost. So now we get to tear some of our flowers. So this is a really fun part because tearing paper is fun. I love getting those like raw edges. I think that's can be really exciting because you kind of never know what you're gonna get. So like I said earlier, in case you're just joining us, I found some magazine ads in some of my favorite magazines. And whenever I'm collaging, I'm always looking for lots of great areas of color and texture. So fashion magazines are great, but I also love food magazines because they always have really great and brightly colored photography. So that is what I've got here. See this dress here, it's got some really pretty pink texture. These are great for flowers. I love these sprinkles for flowers. So I'm just gonna cut, or not cut, I'm gonna tear out areas of each of these, you know, areas of color that I like into circles that are about this big. I'll say like 2 inches in diameter. I'm going to do my best to tear them as evenly as possible, but since we're tearing, of course, it's not going to be perfect, and that's kind of the beauty of it. Flowers are very organic too, so these torn paper flowers are going to feel very realistic. I'm going to start here. I'm going to try to stick within my little sprinkle part because I think that's really cute. And when you're tearing, you can kind of decide whether you like that white torn line or not. So if you like the white torn line, you want to pull away from the paper that you're keeping. If you don't like that white torn line, you want to pull the paper you're keeping away from the other piece. So I'll kind of show you what I mean. So say I want to keep the left side and I don't want the right side and I want that torn line. I'm going to pull the right side away from it and that's going to leave me with that raw edge. If I want the right side and I don't want the left side and I don't want that raw edge, I'm going to tear it this way and then I don't have that raw edge. Does that make sense? So you can kind of decide whether or not you like that or not. I like it because I think it just feels really collagey and it kind of adds to the whole look of a paper collage like this, but it's totally up to you. You can even just cut them with scissors. If you don't want it to be perfectly clean, that's fine too. So there's one flower. I'm going to tear one out of here. You can tear more off too later if you don't like the way it tore. And again, I said this in the beginning, but again, in case you're just joining us, I took photocopies of the magazines that I originally used in my painting so I could recreate it for you guys, but so my paper's a little thicker than a magazine would be. It would normally be a little bit easier to tear it, so I'm kind of having to wrestle mine a little, but hopefully you shouldn't be having that problem. Let's see, I'll do some of these Sour Patch Kids too. I love that sugar texture. I'm going to tear some of this dress too. I love that gold bead. Okay, and you can, tear as many flowers or as few flowers as you want until you have, a bouquet that you're happy with. So let's go ahead and lay these out and see if we've got enough. I think I tore as many as the original one, but we can check. Okay, so it's kind of the fun part to arrange it too. You can kind of see what looks best and how you like it. All right, I think that's good. So I think I'm going to go ahead and Mod Podge them down like that. So I'm just going to kind of slide them down. I'm going to grab my brush and my Mod Podge again, and we're going to apply it just like we applied the leaves and the stems before. I'm going to get my flat brush. I'm going to put some Mod Podge down on my painting where my flower's going to go. Just a nice, thin, even coat. You don't need a lot. And I'm going to lay my flower down. Make sure it's nice and flush. You can kind of brush down the edges too to make sure it's all down. And I'm going to keep doing that until I have all of my flowers on my painting. So again, guys, in case you're just joining us, May is National Mod Podge Month. It is a real holiday. It is not just a Plaid holiday. We had it registered, so it's official. May 17th is National Mod Podge Day, so make sure to check out. We'll be having lots of great content in May all about Mod Podge. Every year we love to celebrate. You can see I've got my t-shirt on already, so we will be celebrating all month long, especially on May 17th. We'll have lots of great content, but we'll really be focusing and celebrating Mod Podge throughout May, so make sure to check out all of that content. Okay, so here's my last one. I'm gonna paint it down. Okay, so again, guys, in case this is the first time you're using Mod Podge, really all of our formulas, They go on milky, but they always dry clear. So don't worry, it looks very gluey, but it's gonna dry pretty quickly and it's gonna dry nice and clear. All right, so we'll give that a minute to dry and then we have some more details to add. But while it's drying, we can go ahead and add some of our details to the rest that we're painting. So we can add some pink stripes down here. So I'll get my bright pink and I'll get a small flat brush. This is a 1/2 inch flat. And I'm going to use the width of my brush as the guide for how thick my stripes are going to be. So I'll start on the left because I'm right-handed. So if you're right-handed, you might want to start on the left. And I'm going to start at the top of where my pink, tabletop or whatever this is, and pull down. I'm going to keep my hand as evenly as I can. Keep the pressure really even too, and that's how you get a nice straight line. If you kind of like press and pull and press and pull, you get kind of like a wavy line, but I'm gonna try to keep mine consistent. Oops, my brush keeps drying out. It's drying here. Pull down. And I'm going to keep them as evenly spaced as possible. But that's another thing I love about this painting is it's supposed to be really like loose and funky. So if they're a little wobbly and they're not exact, that's okay. It kind of adds to the charm of this painting. Okay. So now I'm going to grab some of my orange and we're going to do a really similar technique all along the top edge of our painting. So I'll show you what I did here. I got it all along the edges to kind of create this fun little frame border just with paint. So we are going to go ahead and do that now with our orange. Again, we're using pure orange. I'm going to add a little bit more on my palette because mine's dried out a little. And I went all the way around the edge on this one. So it's kind of up to you. I think I'm just going to go like kind of on the corners now so you can see it from the front, but feel free to go all the way around the edge like I did. And again, I'm going to try to keep them as consistent as possible. I might actually turn my canvas for this. It'll make it a little easier. I'm using my brush to kind of guide how thick my little tick marks are. I'm going to go all the way around. Like I said, I'm trying to keep it as even as I can as far as distance apart, but I'm just eyeballing it, so it's not going to be totally perfect. This just adds another little fun, whimsical element to this funky painting. And add some more Mod Podge colors too, which doesn't hurt. Okay, so now I'm going to dry my brush, or I'm sorry, I'm going to clean my brush off. And then the last thing we have to do is add the center of our flowers. So my Mod Podge is still a little bit wet, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dry it real quick so we can paint on top of our flowers. So that's pretty dry. It should be fine to paint on top of. While I was drying, Caitlin reminded me that I forgot the water, so thank you. I was thinking we were almost done, but I did forget one thing. So to add our water, we're going to do just like we did before. We're going to grab our fine brush, our number 8 round. And if you've got some of that light blue that we used, great. You can add some water to it and kind of, rehydrate it. but if not, it was just some of our true blue and our wicker white. And I'm going to kind of follow this like ellipses shape of the base of the vase, just a little bit higher to kind of like imply that there's water in our vase. So I'm going to make that same curve, and then I'm going to make the same curve behind the flowers again. So there's water. And then I'm going to grab my smaller flat brush, this is my 1/2 inch flat, and I'm going to pick up some wicker white, and I'm going to get most of it off. I want to have a very dry brush for this next part. See how there's hardly any paint there? I really took most of it out. It's just kind of like tinted with paint. I'm going to dry brush left and right across my flower stems, it's a little too dry, across my flower stems to look like there's water in there. Just make it look a little different than the top, so like they're underwater. There we go. I'm going to painting right over that paper. Okay, thank you for reminding me, Caitlin.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now, like I said, now we really are on the last part. We're going to add some centers to our flowers. So I used 3 colors when I was doing this. I used baby pink, our navy blue, and then I mixed our daffodil yellow with white to get a little bit of a lighter yellow. So I'll start with my baby pink. Again, I've got my 1/2 inch flat. I'm going to pick up some baby pink, and I'm going to put this on the pink flowers. So I'll start here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my brush to paint a circle. So I'm not going to really do a lot of work. Like I said, I've said this a couple times already in this painting. I'm going to use my brush, I'm going to let my brush do the work for me. So I'll show you what I mean here on my palette. I'm going to hold my brush up and down, perpendicular with my surface. I'm going to turn it left, and then I'm going to turn it right to get a circle, just like that. You can practice on your palette or on some paper. Perpendicular, turn it left, turn it right to get that nice little circle. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Turn it left, turn it right. You can touch it up a little if you need to. Turn it left, and then turn it right. And then I'll do the last one here. Left, right, to get that nice little circle. And I'm going to do the same thing with my navy blue. I've got to grab some to put on my palette. Oops. So the navy blue. And again, guys, I'm using our Let's Paint Live kit. So our Let's Paint Live kit comes with 24 Folk Art matte acrylic colors, and it also comes with our 10-piece artist variety set. You can purchase that on plaidonline.com/letspaint, and with this kit, you can paint along to any of our paint nights. So we go live once a month here on the Plaid channel, whether it's me or Emma Panuski or Kirsten Jones or Andy or Chris. Whatever you're painting and whoever you're painting with, this kit will always be the kit that we're using. So make sure to check that out, because these 2-ounce paints go a long way, and all those colors, it's a really great investment. So if you can paint with us all year long, probably for a couple years with that kit. So make sure to check that out again on plaidonline.com/letspaint. Okay, so the last color I'm going to mix is going to be yellow and then white. Get sort of just like a nice pale yellow color. There we go, and that's going to be the one I put in the center. There. Center flower is kind of my biggest, so I made my dot a little bigger too. Okay, so now I'm going to add the little dots on the inside of the flowers, and to do that, I just used my the end of my brush, my paintbrush. So I just used the handle as a little stamp. So I'm going to grab some navy blue, and I'm going to add some dots on the lighter colors, so the pink and the yellow. It's okay, I'm doing it right on top of the wet, and it shouldn't really matter too much, just since I'm dotting. Okay, I'm going to wipe it off, and then I'm going to pick up some yellow, some of this light yellow that I just mixed, and add it on top of my navy dots. And that is our beautiful Mod Podge collage canvas. So don't forget to sign your work, guys. Thank you for painting with me. I had so much fun. It was really fun to get to do something a little bit different than just painting. We got to do some mixed media tonight. So happy Mod Podge month. Like I said, we'll be making Mod Podge content all month long, celebrating our favorite decoupage medium. So if this was your first time using Mod Podge, I hope you enjoyed it. You can do so many different things with it. I do want to mention next month's painting. So next month we will have a very special artist joining us, and it's actually going to be at a different date than it normally is. Normally we have our Let's Paint Lives on the first Thursday of every month, but like I said, we have someone very special joining us, and so we're trying to trying to mesh our schedules together, so it's going to be a little delayed. This painting is called A Day at the Beach, and it's going to be on June 27th, and we will be having the lovely Donna Dewberry joining us in the studio. So like I said, we typically have our Let's Paint Lives on the first Thursday of every month, but next month will be a little different. We'll be having it on June 27th, but it'll be worth it. It'll be worth the wait because we'll have Donna here in the studio painting this gorgeous beach scene with us. So make sure to check that out. It'll still be at 7:30 Eastern Time.